Thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cummings?
Here.
Ms. McGuire?
Here.
Mr. Spencer?
Present.
Mr. Taser?
Present.
Mr. Sutton here. Mr. Wishbarth?
Present.
Mr. Palmer?
Here. Next is the agenda additions. Do you have any changes, additions on the agenda? If not, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. Next is public hearing. I would ask for a motion to go into a public hearing.
That we go into the public
Support.
We have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Wusterbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
hearing. Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Motion passed. We are now in public hearing. This gives anyone an opportunity to ask questions regarding this particular topic of truth and taxation. I think we have our former esteemed assessor with us, and she can go over some of this.
Good evening. The purpose of this hearing is to fulfill the requirements of the Michigan Compiled Laws, Section 211.2 of the General Property Tax Act. Simplified explanation of this law is a truth and taxation hearing is required if the current levy of operating millage, excluding additions, produces more tax dollars than the previous year's actual levy, excluding losses. Without this hearing, the operating millage rate would be reduced from 4.6908 to 4.4853. The notice of the hearing contains phrases such as proposed increase of mills or proposed additional millage. The public notice is referring to the difference between the reduced millage rate without the hearing of 4.4853 and the maximum authorized millage rate with the hearing of 4.6908. I've looked at the previous year's documents, and that the millage of 4.6908 is the same operating millage that the township has levied for the last 13 years. If the Board of Trustees approves the resolution to levy the maximum millage authorized, it would result in an additional revenue of $73,361. The estimated tax bill on the average would increase by $8.69. For a $100,000 home, the taxable value of $50,000, the added taxes would be about $10.28. Does the board have any questions?
You said the additional operating revenue that would come from that increase was 70, how much? 70,000?
$73,361. However, once you take off the LDFA capture, the amount that the township would actually retain is $71,258, roughly.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the board? Any public comments at this time on this issue? All right, hearing none. There are no other comments from the board. I take a motion to go out of public hearing.
I'll move that we close the public hearing on the truth of taxation.
Support?
We have a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. We are now out of public hearing. Thank you. The next on the agenda is the public comments. For this, we ask that you fill out a card. Do we have any?
I have one card. It's Miss Kelly Brown.
Kelly Brown, Oscoda. First of all, happy birthday to you both. I hope you have a wonderful year going forward. I had 3 items. I forgot to put one other one on there, but the first one I had for Josh on the accounts payable under Department 299 unallocated. There is $10,475 going to Masad Law Group. So why would that be under unallocated, and what's it for? I mean, I know our regular attorney is Rosati Schultz, and I don't remember the other name. But what would we have spent $10,475 for that was on your check run June 27th, it looks like? Was that for the toxic workplace investigation, or you just paid them, so I'm assuming you probably reviewed the invoices and know what they're for?
That was from June?
It's on your check run. It's on the page 1 of 4, listed under Department 299, unallocated. Your check run June 27th. That's also when the statement was made about that investigation, so I'm assuming it's for both of those, but I don't know, and I'm not sure why it would be under unallocated. So I just wanted to find out what we were spending an additional $10,000 on a lawyer for. Because it's not our standard township attorney.
Are we
Does
talking
anyone
about
happen to know that?
check run that's in the packet?
What's that?
Are you talking about the check run that's in the packet?
Yeah. Department 299, unallocated. While you guys are looking that up, I'll go on with my other questions. On the Planning and Zoning Administration hire request under other, I just wanted to bring up, as I brought this up back in April 24th meeting, I brought it up. You know, anytime we had a job posting, they're supposed to be posted. I believe at that April meeting, the board had told me that we were going to post those, and then we would also supply that job description, rate of pay, tier level, vacation benefits and all that, so it could be reviewed. So I'm not sure what all the details are, but there wasn't anything in the package other than a resume. And I don't think we want to go down this. You know, we did it before with the assistant to the superintendent. We just hired one. But the prior one had to go before the board and had to get approval. And I read through your board protocol manual, and it states that all hires for township have to go through the board. But I don't know how you as a board can make a decision if you don't know the what, the why, how much, all of it. So I just, there was a couple other ones that happened in the past too. We had the finance consultant, and we were talking about hours, and we were talking about hiring them, but we didn't have it built in the budget. So I just wanted to see if maybe there could be either postpone it or we need to get some additional details. Because you can't just hire someone and we don't know anything about it. We don't even know if it's in our budget. So that was that one. And then the last one that I wanted to bring up with 29 seconds was the water loss. And Bill, I know you gave an explanation at the last board meeting, or the 2 board meetings ago, but my question for you is, if we're paying 51% of the overall bill, which I appreciate your definition of all of it, but we're not billing 51%, who's paying for that difference? That's what I was trying to get at, not how it's billed. Not that again. Anyways, that's it, thank you. Josh, I don't know if you found that info. Do you know what that's for?
Not on these check runs, I didn't. So I'll have to look into that for you.
The one that you just ran on this one that we're paying? You
The
don't know what
ones
it's
that are in the
for?
board packet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it under the 299.
I didn't see it either.
It's well, there's a total for unallocated,
Yeah.
page 15.
but
Okay.
I don't see anything about
I'll
a
email
lawyer.
it to you, and we can take it up at the next board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other cards?
Thing about an attorney.
No.
Okay. Moving on, next is the consent agenda. I think Mr. Sutton sent out some updated minutes from August 28th. We also have the check runs, a total of $316,165.46. The check runs from September 12th, August 30th, September 5th, September 7th, and the C2R2 payments and the CWSRF payments. Anybody have any questions or comments on those?
Yes, so I had an email exchange with Josh about the latest minutes and about the, one of the ladies that came to the podium and had a discussion. I wanted to know, I didn't see an update to the minutes though, because you wouldn't have had time, correct?
No, I sent you that right when I got here, so that update would be put in as part of the approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, so we don't have it yet.
Right.
Okay, good, so then let's announce that so the board knows that. Okay, go ahead.
And that one, we just had a lady who spoke on the grant for Hall Island and asked who would be in control of that grant. She is the only one to get by us thus far without presenting her name, just when we were having the public hearing. So in there, that's why I just had lady, because I went back and watched the video and everybody announced and she got up quick, asked her questions, sat down and never gave us a name.
Was that her, was she tall with the glasses on, kind of older, straight hair?
She was right in there.
Cindy Sisler was her name. Yes. You're welcome.
Thank you. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
You know, Josh, Jamie's just down the hall from you,
That's right, that's right.
and she knows everybody here.
I'm bringing you mug shots from now on.
It
Who
was
is
an
this?
old neighbor.
Jamie, do you need to spell it?
Sisler.
Thank you.
Her son went to school with my brother.
So we're going to put her name in there now that she's identified, thank you.
Okay.
And then add in that we did answer her question for the grant.
Okay. Any questions on the payment of bills? These runs? Anybody? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda with the change of the August 28th minutes?
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the change proposed for the August 28th minutes.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Cummings?
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the superintendent report.
Okay, your packet contains a quote for servers through the township's IT provider for the police department and township hall. Currently, both servers have gone below the 10% limit of space available. The police department server has been budgeted in capital improvement, but the township server was not. These servers are required to keep all the township and police departments' data backed up. So I am no IT person, I will tell you right off the top, but that's what I count on you and Mr. Cummings for, and IT right, or VC3, I'm sorry.
yeah, and so I presume this came from them, right?
Yes.
Right, because of course it's on the quote.
Yes.
And I guess, what kind of, not for you, sorry. So what kind of space do we have extra for storage on there?
That's what I was going to ask. I have a lot of technical questions here, and since you can't answer them, and I know that, and I'm not going to expect that you should, I'm going to make a motion that we postpone the purchase of these servers until the next regularly scheduled meeting so that I can sit down with Mr. Cummings and you, and we can go through these server specs and find out why don't the current servers have enough, what space are they missing? And is this server platform that they're trying to roll out the best option for our township as opposed to, putting in a rack mount network attached storage box for storage of these electronic documents?
Which we have room for upstairs, we have a rack.
Yes, and there was also questions at the bottom of their quote as far as whether or not there's going to be enough HVAC service available in the attic of the township to keep those servers cool, and we have to
Very
get rid.
hot there.
No,
So,
no.
but they're talking about redirecting it. They're going to have DPW come in and redirect some air vents up there so that the air conditioning blows up into that attic more often. And I want to make sure that that's going to be sufficient, which is another reason that we're,
Yeah, the only way to maintain that would be to have a thermostat up there, and I don't think that's
And a
going to happen.
zone.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly, which would be a whole nother unit,
Ugh.
right?
Now,
Exactly.
we might have to put in a mini split, but if we're going to spend 25,000 on servers, I'd hate to see them go down because they got too
Oh,
hot.
yeah, you don't want to fry them, no kidding, yeah. Sure.
So there's my motion, and then we'll discuss it in more detail and bring it back to the board when we have answers.
That's great. Could I just,
Yeah.
because we're in a really bad spot, the police department server keeps going down, and the township server is being monitored as well. Could we do this sooner than later and possibly entertain a special meeting for this? I just don't, if those go, we have no way of backing up our information. That means BSNA goes, which means we don't work.
I didn't realize that the servers were going down.
Yeah,
separate
well, the
servers.
police department, theirs goes down
Two separate servers.
almost daily,
Oh, good Lord, jeez. God.
yes.
And just on a comment, but NIT Right or VC3 has obviously been sleeping at the switch on this?
Yes,
Lovely.
yes.
How much
But-
are we paying for them again?
Yes, I'm becoming more and more disenamored with our service provider.
Yeah. That's when they quadrupled our annual rate
And
and
then seem
gave
to
us
be
worse
providing,
service.
yes.
Yeah.
But if we could arrange something this week,
Yeah, I will be available anytime you want.
Would you guys like to do approval pending your review with the
Well,
superintendent? Or
You know,
no, it's gonna
you
be,
might change the whole plan?
The whole plan might
Yeah.
So you guys are going to get with her, and if we need another meeting, we
Yep.
can get one together?
yes.
yeah, okay.
Yes.
I can do tomorrow.
I can too. Well, no, my daughter has surgery tomorrow, so I'm only until noon. So if you can come in before noon, that would be
Well, I'm going
great.
to be on the road tomorrow, but I'll be available by phone. So when and if you get a minute tomorrow, give me a call.
Okay,
If you can't, Wednesday's fine too. We can take a call on Wednesday.
okay,
It'll be fine.
Wednesday's wide
As soon as you're available, let's do this.
okay.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Spencer to
Comment.
postpone. Go ahead.
Comments, we'll go to the postpone motion? Because I heard special meeting based on the outcome. Can we
Right.
postpone but pre-authorize from this board to spend an amount not to exceed $26,000 if so deemed by the superintendent, Jeremy and Tim, so that we do not have to have a special meeting and we can go
It's
forward?
guys
it's
see
a
this.
fair option, and I like where you're going with it. The problem is that it could involve more than just a couple of servers, because if it ends up being, we end up moving this upstairs to the attic, now we've got to deal with air conditioning. We got to figure out what costs may be involved in that, because these things have been literally left to sit in people's offices for all these years.
Call it 40,000.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's what I was getting ready to ask. So do you happen to know off the top of your head, no harm if you don't, what kind of money was set aside for, it budgeted for this improvement?
So there was 17,000 originally set aside in the police department,
Right,
but we were not prepared for the township side of
gathered.
this.
Okay.
Was it in next year or the year out? Do you know?
Next year?
Do you remember what the line item was for next year?
No, I do not. Not right off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's okay. Pass. You did fine. Okay, thank you. So, all right, then, I don't know. So it's as much of, it's a pull a number out of the air at this point, which is scary. So, well, here's what we're going to, you're proposing, Steve, that we get a number and that would give Tammy an opportunity to work within that number so we don't have to special meeting is what we
Correct.
get. Okay, got it.
Shut down
And then we bring that all back the next time we meet.
for the proper budget amendment and everything
Right,
else that would be
exactly. Okay,
required.
cool. All right, 50? Okay, let's go with a pre-approval of 50 grand. And that would include not just the scope of 2 servers, but also possible HVAC amendments for the attic.
And that would be based on the discussion between you, Jeremy, and Tammy, and our service provider. And then it would come back to the meeting for the appropriate budget amendment at that time, whatever that amount would be.
Yep.
I'll support that.
Great. Thank you.
You got that, Bill?
Good luck. Good luck, Josh.
Trying to
Yeah, the microphones are working, so you can replay that, Josh.
So Mr. Spencer's motion was to postpone this.
Until our next regularly scheduled board meeting and provide a $50,000 spending cap to spend on a township server,
2 servers.
a police department server, and possibly the climate control for the area in which they will be installed.
Okay.
Based on and that $50,000 cap is to purchase both of the servers and the HVAC if we can do it within that amount, and then we will bring back the final numbers to the board at the next meeting.
Very good.
Yeah, I'll support that.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a very detailed motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Worcesterbarth. Roll call, please.
That's right.
Mr. Kaiser,
Yes.
Mr. Worcesterbarth,
Yes.
Ms. McGuire,
Yes.
Mr. Cummings,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes, Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer.
Yes. Motion passed. Next up is the IPP proposal.
All right. At the July 24th Township Board meeting, the board approved F&V Operations to prepare a proposal and implement an IPP, Industrial Pretreatment Program, for Oscoda Township. Your packet contains a brief overview from our water manager regarding background, scope of services, and budget requested for this proposal. The second item in your packet is a professional services agreement for the IPP creation and implementation with a lump sum amount of $79,200 to be billed monthly based on work completed. I would ask that the board consider the professional services agreement proposed by F&V Operations to begin the creation and implementation of the industrial pretreatment program in the amount of $79,200 to be billed monthly based on work completed, to be taken from Fund 590-000-890.000 contingency until appropriations are needed.
I'm going to jump right in on this. I think that it would be a great idea for us to have a pretreatment program, but since not all citizens, or actually I don't think really hardly any citizens from a residential standpoint would be able to take part in this, I'm not sure, and I'm not convinced that their tax dollars should be used to implement the program.
So the laws per EPA and the state allow the township to recover all costs for the people that are actually governed by this. So this would not be something that would be put on your regular sewer rates. This would be something that you would be recovering from Tip Top Screw and or any other significant or categorical users within the system. So the question would be from the board's standpoint, is that amount, are you confident that you can recover that from your industrial user? They've asked the township to proceed with this because they would like to be able to dispose of their treated process waste. They do have a treatment process into the sanitary sewer as opposed to having it hauled off, and whether there's a cost ratio to that would allow them to actually participate in paying for this so that they wouldn't have to do that anymore. And so that is the bigger question, because I think Elaine, and this is actually from our engineering division, from Elaine Venema, who is also the person that's been doing the lead on the PFAS investigation, is that I do believe it says something in there about recovering those costs from those industrial users.
Right, I do remember that conversation, but I haven't seen anything from Tip Top Screw saying that, is apparently they're the only ones that are really going to use it at this time. Is that correct? I mean,
That we know of. And so this process would basically cast a wider net and see if there are any other users that would be affected by this, that they would then also have to be regulated by this and would be administered permits, individual IPP permits that have fees related to them. But if they're not any other users, then it would be Tip Top Screw. And as the board had brought up at the previous meeting, the one thing about doing the IPP is that when you have that in place, is that if another categorical or industrial user wanted to join the system, the framework would already be there to go ahead and implement right from the get-go an industrial pretreatment program for them and monitor and regulate them as required by EPA and EGLE.
So if it comes down to it that right now there is only one user that's going to utilize the system, and we go through and it ends up being just Tip Top Screw, then they are basically going to be hit for approximately $80K.
Yeah.
And then their permit fees and all that stuff are going to cover that $80,000 to get this program implemented for the first 2 years. Then if another manufacturing facility comes in that needs those water treatment, or that pre-treatment option, then they would have to pay a little bit, while Tip Top has to bear the brunt of it. Is that?
That's a policy decision on the basis of the township. That's not something
And I
that we would
appreciate
do.
that, but my question is, has Tip Top been made aware of that?
She asked us.
No.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I know that they were the ones that reached out to the township about implementing something.
Yeah.
I don't think they've been apprised of the cost, except for the fact that it was, talked about generally at the previous meeting. So that would be something to look into. And like I said, that would be something that the township would have to make a policy decision on whether they would try to recover 100% of those costs from Tip Top Screw, if they would amortize it, over so many years in order to give them more time to help pay for that. And then, I don't know if there's any funding that would be available to help with this in regard to the fact that it, is related to economic development. So that would be something you would have to look into as the township.
Well, I think that the township should probably have a quick conversation with the administration of Tip Top Screw, because even though they asked for it, I don't believe that it's fair for us to just pass this and then smack them in the face with an $80,000 bill.
No, absolutely right.
It'd be just the permit fees, I think. The way that the permits are set up is that once you apply for the permit for the pre-treatment program, then those permit fees would pay for the $80,000.
Right, but is that $79,200 a monthly charge?
No, that's just to
No.
set up this whole package, set up the ordinances.
That's the
and have
initial, and then
F&V.
there would be additional monthly charges after
Yeah,
that.
so
That's my
the
correct-
additional fees that would happen on an annual basis would be that once you have them implemented as a permitted IPP user, that we would have to do routine inspections for them, sampling events for them, and then also reissue that permit and update it on a regular basis. So there's a permit reissuance fee. They would cover the sampling costs and also the analytical costs and your administrative costs on an annual ongoing basis. But, the cost of developing this program is something, like I said, that the township would have to determine how they would recover those costs. And if you chose to approve it, depending on what happens with that conversation, you could do that. And then the township could take action, afterwards, after you have that conversation. I know that they had reached out, I believe, to Mr. Palmer in regard to this. And so there's already a willingness on their part to discuss this.
Yes, and I reached out to Catherine. She thought perhaps we could all get together with Tip Top Screw and F&V
And Mr.
and our
Freeman.
engineer and Ms. Klein.
Maybe do a work session.
And go over what's involved with this, with Tip Top Screw. And
Right.
Catherine thought that was a good idea. I do too. I think we need to sit down and talk about this, but I think our proposal here this evening is to approve, have an F&V create this program for us. So I
And
think
it's
that's.
to the tune of $80K,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Catherine, I have a question. So you've got F&V scope of services of $45,200 and then sample and collection laboratory analytical $34,000. So what I'd like to see is the cost to set up the program one time. I'm sure it's a one-time cost besides permits that are probably yearly or biannually or something. And then what's the service for the maintenance of this, for the reporting to EGLE that the township's going to be responsible for? I'd like to see that understood really before going forward. And then what I would recommend, Bill, to Tammy, with Tammy and administration, is our superintendent takes up the horn to set the meetings up with Tip Top to see what that looks like going forward after we understand those numbers, and then probably bring this to the utility subcommittee meeting so that committee can make a recommendation to the board.
And when it's all said and done, for me to really support it with just Tip Top on there, I'd really like a letter on their letterhead that says that that's what they want to move forward on. Just, and if they won't do it, fine, but if they really want this water treatment program in place and they are willing to pay the fees to get it set up, it would be nice to have something from them in writing so that we can always reference back to that when anybody else asks.
Absolutely. Like I said, there has to be some assessment from their part of whether this cost is less than what they would be paying for hauled waste. I have no idea how much they're paying to have their waste hauled, but I'm sure it's not inexpensive. And whether, if the township were willing to amortize this cost over, say, 5 years or something like that, whether it would in fact actually be, more economical for them to do that. So, but that is a discussion, like you said, that we have to have with Tip Top Screw, and then, bring it back to the utility subcommittee, or, however the township would like to proceed. But you did ask for this, and so we brought it forward for you.
Yes, and that, well, we needed this to go talk to them about it, so, because that's what they wanted to know. And I appreciate you putting that out there for us so that we've got some numbers to start with. I would make a motion that we postpone this, the decision on actually starting this process until we can have a discussion with Tip Top Screw and make sure that they are on board with these fees if indeed they are the single solitary users of this package. Because I don't think it's going to be cheap, but it might still be cheaper than carting the wastewater away. But we need to talk to them about that before we say, hey, that was a great idea, here's your bill.
I would like to make one other point before we go on. An industrial pre-treatment program is important for any future growth that may use that too. So we need to keep that in mind, that right now they may be the only, but if we have any kind of expansion, that is definitely a bonus for somebody that's going to develop that type of industry here, to know that we have an industrial pre-treatment program. They may even locate here because we do have such a program. So I just wanted to bring that point out, that it's not just benefit for one, it's a benefit for future and future development, and could be the key point for bringing that development here.
And I'm not, that's not opposed to that, but, but for them to have to foot the bill and then everybody else that comes in later gets to take advantage of it, that's, I just want to make sure they're okay with that before.
And that's why I think it's important to understand what the one-time costs are to get this set up, basically, and then what are the costs on a monthly basis, yearly basis for the monitoring.
Well, and just to remember that, I think, if I read in here correctly, part of this process of setting up is then that F&V would do an investigation of the other businesses to make sure that there aren't some others that need to be tied into an IPP. We're not just, I mean, primarily we're focused on Tip Top Screw because they came to us. But part of this proposal is that F&V will reach out and
to all the industrial,
look at all the
or commercial use,
businesses out there and see if there's a need somewhere else. Because up until now, we've sort of gone on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is it's sort of an honor system. They have a form that they fill out and let you know what chemicals they're using or what process they're using, and you have that on file. And it's basically an honor system of how they're handling their manufacturing out there.
Yeah.
And is that?
Yeah, and so we do have that, and we did a similar type of form, a survey, when we were doing the initial PFAS investigation. And so at that point in time, and I don't know if it was, an oversight or how it was handled or who filled out the form on behalf of Tip Top Screw, they had not filled out that they were doing any kind of e-coating or plating there that would have flagged it immediately for us at that time. So that was why it kind of went under the radar until this time. And of course, they've been in business for decades here at the township, and have never had any incidents that would have caused any kind of concern. So normally, as an operator of a wastewater system, when you start to see compliance issues or sampling that you're doing, and you start to see constituents that are coming through, whether they're pollutants of concern or treatment interference or whatever, you start trying to track down where that's coming from, and that has never been the case here. So it's been basically kind of in the background, and it's never really caused any issues. But that doesn't mean that now that it's been brought to Eagle's attention that the township has the luxury of just letting things go back to the way they were, because now they're on the radar, and Eagle is saying that for them to discharge their treated process wastewater to the sewer, that the township has to develop an IPP program. You don't really have an option at this point. Either they need to develop an IPP program and then allow them to discharge, or they're going to need to continue to haul those wastes off in perpetuity.
So, Jeremy, just to clarify your motion, postpone kicking back to administration for further investigation to come back to the board through the,
Yes, my motion is to
Utility subcommittee.
postpone for the administration to get some clarified numbers that you were asking for, and to have a meeting with Tip Top Screws executive structure to ensure that they are ready and willing to take on this project, and that they're not going to get blindsided. And I'd be interested to know how much they're, and that's the motion. And on
I'll
a side
support
note,
that.
I'd be interested to know what they are paying to have all that wastewater hauled off, if they're willing to tell us, just out of curiosity.
I can tell you this, I know the company that they're using is expensive.
Oh, I can only imagine. Oh, you want us to come pick up a bunch of nasty water and drive it across the country? That's going to cost you.
The company they're using is the company that goes around and picks up used oil
Oh,
and
yeah.
other chemicals from various facilities, and it's expensive. I know firsthand about that. So we have a motion by Mr. Spencer to postpone, to gather more information. Is there a second?
Support.
Motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Wusterbarth. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes?
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. So we will try and get more information and have a sit-down with Tip Top Screw and get some of this worked out, hopefully soon.
If I could interject here.
Sure.
That a girl.
The audience is having a hard time hearing you guys.
I'm sorry, who, what?
The audience is having a hard time hearing you guys.
Oh,
If you could just speak up, please.
It's me? Okay. Problem is the mic's here and I turned to talk over here.
we're going to have to get you a lapel
Yeah.
mic.
Okay, I'll try and do better, thank you. Next, the Phase 5 water.
Okay. Your packet contains the sixth pay request in the Phase 5 water main project in the amount of $294,868.76, leaving a total of $594,576.44 remaining on this project. I would ask that the board consider approving the sixth pay request from Elmer's Crane and Dozer Incorporated in the amount of $294,868.76 to be paid from the C2R2 funds after reimbursement is requested and deposited into the township's account.
Questions, comments?
I would make a motion to approve the sixth pay request from Elmer's Crane and Dozer in the amount of $294,868.76 to be paid from C2R2 funds after reimbursement is requested and deposited into the township's account.
Support. Sutton?
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the IET Road Commission payment.
Okay, the township, through the road commission, received a TAP grant of roughly $2 million for the Iosco Exploration Trail project. This grant requires an 80-20 split, with 20% being a local match, which has been met. Your packet contains the 6th invoice from the Road Commission in the amount of $30,760.61 and will be reimbursed after payment has been made. I have 2 actions here. The first action would be to approve the payment of $30,760.61 towards the Iosco Exploration Trail to be paid to the Road Commission from Fund 101-751-880.572. And number 2, approve appropriations to Fund 101-751-880.572 in the amount of $30,760.61.
And the money's coming from the general fund?
Yes. We do get reimbursement for this, but that goes back into revenue.
Cool.
So it will come right back.
Well, I would move to approve the appropriation of $30,760.61 to Fund 101-751-880.572 to be coming from the general fund account.
Support, Cummings.
Now this, you're making the motion for the appropriation.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm moving the money and then spending it.
Okay.
I don't think it matters, does it? Just out of
As
curiosity?
long as they're 2 separate motions.
Yeah,
fair enough.
two separate motions. So we have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed.
And I'll make a second motion to approve the payment of $30,760.61 towards the Iosco Exploration Trail to be paid to the Iosco County Road Commission from Fund 101-751-880.572.
Support? Sutton?
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next are the resolutions, 2023-19.
All right, so there's a little bit of confusion on this particular resolution. This is basically, our new assessor has decided to do a resolution for this. The township is paying them. They do, I believe, 20% of the properties every year for inspection. And over a 5-year time frame, that ensures that everyone in the township will be assessed. This is just a resolution saying that that's what we are going to do.
I did reach out to the assessor too today because I had several people getting a hold of me and asking questions about it. And I told him that about the resolution, so I sent it to him, and his comment was, while we've been doing property inspections for property tax purposes in Oscoda Township for many years with our past assessing firm and again with the current assessing firm, this resolution is simply intended to put it on record and acknowledge that the township board's endorsement of this process. So it's basically a housekeeping thing, just so it's saying that the township board is approving what this is the process. We've been doing it for decades. So yeah, it's nothing new at all. Just so everybody's clear.
Thank you.
And it lays out the time frame of 5 years that everyone in the township will be reevaluated, which I think they've been doing in the past. It was 5 years it would,
Yep,
right?
nothing new.
Yes. Yeah, nothing new here. So
Thank you, Jamie.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-19 as it relates to the inspection of real property.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next, Resolution 2023-20.
This is the resolution that authorizes the township to apply for the grant to purchase the back half of Whole Island, yeah?
Yes.
There were some changes to the previous resolution, which after, if the board approves this resolution, we'll have to rescind Resolution 2023-16.
What were the changes?
The application that we submitted for Hull Island was administratively approved, and there was a suggestion back from the grant administrator that we revise the resolution to increase the local match from 90,000 to 95,000. Basically takes us from the 25% minimum match, which is required, to over 26%, which gets us a significant increase in points in scoring. So they are actually looking out for us and making this recommendation. And again, that's just a maximum amount that will, we won't exceed that. So they're just recommending that if we could rescind the other resolution, adopt this one, and they will accept this as part of the application.
What was that resolution number? The previous?
2023-16.
16.
Well, I would make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-20 as it regards the grant application for the purchase of real property on Hull Island in Oscoda, Michigan.
Support. Comments? Jamie, were you there?
I
Sorry?
think you have to rescind the first one.
You have to do the first one first?
Yeah,
Okay.
rescind the old one first.
Okay, that motion is on hold. And I will make another motion to rescind resolution 2023-16.
Support.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire, to rescind the previous resolution 2023-16. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next, 2023-20.
I would bring my motion back to the board to approve resolution number 2023-20 for the acquisition of real property on Hull Island in Oscoda, Michigan.
Support. Cummings?
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is resolution 2023-21.
Oh, this is the truth and taxation hearing.
Yep.
I would make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-21 regarding the millage rate for the general charter, or the Charter Township of Oscoda.
Support. Sutton?
We have a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Sutton. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the planning and zoning position.
All right, your packet contains an application from Ms. Christine Beckner for the Planning and Zoning Director position. Ms. Beckner has almost a year on the Planning Commission and has quite a bit of experience in other customer service related areas, which is a great asset in this position. She alternately also has an associate's degree in liberal arts. Myself, the deputy clerk, and my assistant interviewed 5 applicants. We got 8 in total. 3 were basically medical backgrounds, so we chose not to interview those. And Ms. Beckner is very enthusiastic about this position. She is scheduled for the 3-day training already for that what she can get her citizen planner in, correct, Bob?
Yes.
So she will have one of those steps already out of the way just in the beginning of October. So I'm kind of excited about this. She's very excited about the position, and I really would recommend her for this job.
And just to clarify, this job opening was posted?
Yes.
How long was it posted?
It was posted for 3 weeks
So about 3 weeks, okay.
on the website. It was posted on Indeed. It was posted on ZipRecruiter, and I believe in the Oscoda Press.
And just about how many applicants did we get?
8.
8, I see.
I didn't see an application in here, only just her resume.
Yeah,
Okay, well, this is what we had her fill out. We don't usually, I mean, she can fill out the application part, as the information isn't much different.
I guess I didn't, well, just because like we were gonna appoint Kathy Morgan-Jones last meeting, but we needed an application filled out, so I guess I didn't know the difference between.
Okay, I
But that was
will
an
bring it back with
application
us.
for a committee
Committee,
appointment,
yeah.
not an employment.
Oh, I thought it was an application for employment, no?
No,
No.
no, for a board position.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'd also like to say that Christine had signed up for the Michigan Association of Planners Conference in October, and in that is what Tammy was referring to as the citizen planner is going on at that conference, and she signed up for that training at that conference. So she was already, as a planning commission member, available to go to the Michigan Association of Planning Conference and get that training.
I did not see like a wage or whatever, if it was gonna
Right.
be salary or where we're at. It doesn't seem like she has any experience, like the previous, so would she be starting at a step 1?
Our previous zoning administrator didn't have, she had soil erosion, but not any experience in zoning administration
Okay.
as well. My offer would be $45,000. 2 years ago, we brought in Nicole at a little over 43. We've had increases since then, so my offer would be $45,000 with an increase after she receives her master planner and zoning administrator certification. Those are 2 really important steps, and the quicker she can acquire those, the better off we are. I myself, having taken the zoning administration certification, it is not easy to get, so if she can get that quickly, I believe that would be a great asset to us.
And that is well under the current budget for that position.
Yes, yes.
So 45 would be $21.64 an hour. That's pretty high for somebody with no experience.
compared to our prior administrator, who I believe had the certifications you just listed that you would hope she would be able to get quickly.
Yes,
Correct?
yes, because I took those with Nicole.
Right. Yeah, I think my concern is, well, Nicole had some experience, but it wasn't in this particularly, like you say, it was, but she did work at the county for 5 years. What was that position in? Do you remember?
Soil erosion.
Soil erosion, was that one? Yeah, okay.
It was in the buildings department, wasn't it? Thought it was in the buildings.
Yeah.
department. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Right.
thought so too.
But it was under soil erosion.
Right.
They should get the soil erosion permits.
I guess I was hoping that we would find somebody with more experience to get started, but I do understand that for 3 weeks and, we get what we get, but I was really hoping for something a little more. And it's nothing against Christine, by the way. It's just, it's 45,000 and I'm hoping we had somebody with a little more, some understanding of what it's all about. And at least some training, some certification.
Well, she has been to some site plan trainings, and she has been a member of the planning commission for almost a year, so.
Yeah.
I would like to see it start out at the lower, and then when she gets her certifications, then consider a raise for her for that. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think I understand that point. So a larger bump after the
Right,
completion?
after the completion of the training that's
Yeah.
necessary.
I look at it this year, she's had a year on the planning commission, she knows and has read our ordinance book. I've attended a couple of planning commission meetings, and she seems to be prepared, and as well as she does have an associate's degree.
So I guess the question now is the starting salary. Ms. Klein suggested starting at 45, bumping into 47 once she's completed her training. Ms. McGuire is suggesting, what, 40?
I would say 40. That's actually higher than what I was thinking, because the first step actually in our budget, we have our budget that has the steps of the payroll steps that we have. And I was suggesting the first step based on how we've hired people in the past. And that's actually $16.10 an hour. And then bump her up to the 45 and possibly the 47 eventually after she gets different certifications. I'm not sure, maybe this should have been in the packet for everybody also to look at.
Well, first of all, what was the position advertised at?
It was advertised between 43 and 47,000.
So the 43 would fall within the first step, which I'm talking about, would be 1690 would be the first step. If you go by this thing, yeah, I would say the 1690 would be the first step, because it'd be $43,860. What it looks like anyways.
And I believe we started our previous zoning administrator out at 43,
Yes,
and then bumped it up once she had acquired the certifications,
yes,
and that was 2 years ago.
yes.
So why wouldn't we do the same thing, I guess?
Well, in 2 years,
Yeah, 2 years.
salaries
she would-
have gone up.
Right, right.
2% of that.
So once she gets her certifications, we would do the same thing, bump her up,
To 47?
depending on the qualifications, yeah, 45 to 47. In steps, depending on what she gets completed, I guess. I don't know what the necessary trainings would be. Bob probably would be able to speak to that.
There's a lot of training involved in that. The two trainings that Ms. Klein mentioned, those are also recommendations coming from our planner. And I know that I've taken some courses with Christine for planning and zoning essentials courses already, so she's already been certified. She's taken the courses for boards communications and things like that, which we all attended that. So she has been doing some of that training already. She understands the planning commission process, and I would actually like to make a motion. I move that we approve hiring Christine Beckner for the position of zoning director at the $45,000 with an evaluation after the completion of that training. But I'm with a raise in her salary of $2,000 after the completion of that.
Is there a time frame for the training?
That unfortunately, the training, well, I would say within their first year. It depends on when that training is being available through the MSU extension and other.
I think we required that of our previous
Yes.
planning and zoning director, that she complete that training.
I think it could be done
Within a
within 6 months, but we can't determine when those courses are available for her to actually take.
Right.
So we have a motion to approve hiring at 45,000. Is there a support for that?
I'll support that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Taser, support by Mr. Worcesterbarth. Roll call, please.
One sec. Let me catch up to you guys.
Okay.
Mr. Worcesterbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
No,
Mr. Cummings?
Yep, no.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
No.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, motion passed. Next is the EFT Principal Life proposal. This is Mr. Sutton's request.
Oh, sorry. Let's wrap up that in. This is just because we've requested in the past when we change payment process. So right now, we currently issue checks for principal. But just for mine and Jamie's office, we wanted to get approval from the board to change that from paper check to electronic funds transfer every month.
I need a little context. Principal life, what are we talking about here?
So
Are we
life
talking life
policies
insurance?
for everybody we hold at the township, and by the time we receive it in the mail, their 30-day to pay is really tight. So by the time we get that and we break it down through payroll and get the amounts and put it in PO, and we send the check, it's kind of like WEX, where Ms. McGuire, if we move it to EFT, once we get to that process, she sends it versus us sticking it in the mail and hoping it gets there before the deadline.
I'm tracking now. I literally was thinking, how does this apply to the public? I was like, what are we talking about here?
It's just procedural. We'd like
Yeah,
you
for
guys to
yeah,
approve that.
Yeah,
so.
fair enough, so you can make your
It
payment
speeds up
faster.
the payment process,
Yep,
right?
yep, yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of us are doing that on our personal accounts anyway already, right? We're
Yes.
trying to pay everything we can electronically. So do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the EFT request for principal life as presented.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Spencer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Taser?
Yes.
Mr. Worstebard?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, the motion passed. You can set up your EFT.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is public comment. Anyone that would like to make a public comment, please step up to the podium. Please state your name for the record. And
Good evening, my name is, are we on? Yes? Okay, good. My name is George Samra. I'm just here to introduce myself. I am the new Chamber Director of the Oscoda Ensemble Chamber of Commerce, and I just wanted to say that I'm available. I'd like to meet with all of you or any of you who might need our services, and I'm willing to partner with all of the townships to do as I can to help further our businesses. And that's pretty much it. All right?
Okay.
Ooh, don't do that.
Careful, that
Thank
podium
you.
is tedious.
Do we have anybody else here? Yes.
Hey, you guys all know me, Tim Galton. I own Top Tree Provisioning. Just coming up here to see if I can request that maybe you guys put it on the agenda about lowering the licensing fees for marijuana. As you know, since it started from where we were in the beginning, prices have plummeted over 200%. Other dispensary in town already didn't make it. We're just barely keeping afloat. Luckily, I have other businesses help me keep afloat. And I'm just seeing if we can get a little help to lower that price. I mean, it's $5,000 right now. Maybe drop it to $1,000 would be great. And just want to see what we can do about that. Keep us going. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else here? Seeing no other comments, board comment. Mr. Wistbar.
I have none, other than this is kind of a somber day. I can remember where I was on September 11th. I was on a plane leaving Paris, and in the air, they shut the airspace down, and I had to spend a week at the Amsterdam airport, which was not fun. But everybody who lost their lives that day for that tragic event, I think it's a good day to just remember and be thankful for where we live with our freedoms.
Absolutely. Mr. Taser?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. The first off, I want to take a little bit of time to thank Dave Eiler for taking over the Oscoda Rock Fest event that happened on Saturday. and what an enjoyable time it is. But I really want to thank all the volunteers that come in and help make that happen, because it is a very trying time. I know from personal experience how difficult it is to keep everything on track and get those volunteers, and what a hard time those volunteers have on actually, yeah, they get in and see a rock concert, but there's work there also, and I really do appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to say is I wanted to thank Superintendent Klein for it. I got this letter in this email that she had taken the time to apply for a grant for a fire equipment grant, and she wrote this grant. She found the information, she wrote the grant, and we've been awarded $20,000 for the fire equipment because of Ms. Klein applying for this grant, and I think thank you for that. So, and that's all I've got.
Ms. McGuire?
Last day to pay your summer taxes is this Thursday, September 14th by 5 p.m. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
What a
Mr.
great
Cummings?
reminder.
You're welcome.
No comment, nothing to say, thank you.
Nothing? Okay, thank you. Mr. Spencer?
The only thing that podium down there needs to be replaced, and I would like to take this opportunity to request that we throw it on the agenda for the next meeting to have some alternatives, maybe possibly, because that thing's going to fall over and somebody's going to get hurt on it. I don't know if you've stood at it lately, but it is.
Teetering.
Oh man, well, that's the same one that, if I remember correctly now, the theater has actually fixed that podium multiple times for us. By
It is
putting,
ours?
that's the same one that, I believe, if I'm correct, that's the same one that was at the library.
Yeah.
When we used to meet over there. And when I came over, and I actually almost knocked it over myself during a public comment when I came out to a board meeting, and that was years ago, so that thing it's past its usable life. Let's get a new one.
I have a line of supply.
You're breaking your own
rules,
rule.
JD.
Like being on camera, you know that. I have a line on a supplier for podiums. I'd be more than happy to
Hey, if you could
provide
get that
some numbers.
information over to Ms. Klein so she can bring that to us at the next boarding meeting, that would be great.
We've already been discussing it in the control room as well, many meetings, so.
Yes,
We're on
I'm
top of
aware.
that.
They've been jumping at me like, hey, you need to get this fixed. It's ridiculous. So.
Well, and somebody has recently tripped over it and they broke the wire as well, thus the sexy duct tape job tonight, so, you know, it is what it is. So yes, I will make that happen.
Thank you, JD.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
That's all for me.
Mr. Sutton?
Deep thought.
Well, I was trying to think how to put it. This is, tonight, they had the ceremony for the 9/11 memorial. And I know me and Jamie had discussed it this morning, and Tammy, because that's something that's very important to us. So just that everybody takes that time. This is 1 year. Joe Bryn told me I just got to suck it up because he wanted people to come in the evening too. So it just means a lot, and I think everybody should think about that and take that time. I did just today see the list that comes up just of the people in Michigan who had went to assist in the lives that were lost in doing that, as well as everyone else who helped out during that. And on a positive note, I've met you a couple times, but your wife is amazing at representing you, sir. I talk to her almost daily. So if you haven't met George or his wife, they are a phenomenal addition to our community, and he has hit the ground running, and his wife helps him and puts in just about as much time too. So they are dedicated to getting us moving and getting stuff done. So thank you, and we look forward to you getting out there with everybody else, and let's get this thing moving and make us go to the place to be.
All right, well, I don't have a lot to say this evening. To Mr. Westerbarth, I think everybody remembers where they were
I do.
on September 11th. I happened to be in Seattle, Washington. I'd gone out there for the Michigan-Washington football game, and when we went to come back, of course, the Seattle airport was closed. I managed to rent one of the last cars they had available, so my wife and I drove home from Seattle, which was an interesting drive. But the most interesting thing I remember from that was traveling across country, when we would stop in restaurants and hotels and places along the way, how together the country was, united. That's all people were talking about. If you had a question or a problem with anything, people were more than ready to step forward and help you with anything you needed. And sadly, it seems in 22 years, we've kind of gotten away from that feeling in the country. And I don't want to suggest that we need another tragedy to make that happen and bring us back to that point, but that's what I remember most from that, was as tragic as it was, and traveling all the way across the country to get back home, how together the country was, and just strangers you'd meet, and it was, to me, it was very impressive for that part of it. So it would be nice if somehow the country could get back to being more united with one another, and not the trying to tear one another down constantly that we seem to have going on today. So with that, I will move to adjourn and wish everyone a good evening.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.